Eddie. Corval's boy Eddie. When I said earlier that I wanted to keep a thing, I was talking about order. Yeah, right. No, but I did say I'll get to you next. But when I say to keep a lid out, you said let's lift the lid. So Eddie, Corval's boy, this is your opportunity. If you've got a question to ask the candidates, then do it now.
He's got 2 minutes.
You see
2 minutes.
if I've got him on camera.
Okay,
See if he's on camera.
Is there any council houses in Glasgow? Right. The answer was there. Okay, no. Right. Why isn't any council houses in Glasgow? And also, how many of the former council houses that did exist in Glasgow has been demolished since she transferred it over to a private, limited, charity company? How many have been demolished? And also to add to that, the fact that the demolitions have took place, could you know about it? How many of the candidates has opened their mouth and actually fought against the demolitions? Because I'm going to see this last point, Chairman, but I hope I'm allowed to come back in. I'm going to see this point, Chairman.
Tidy it up here, tidy it up.
In Glasgow now, I can take any one of these candidates to better housing in Glasgow that is currently being demolished in comparison to the housing here in Govanhill. And I can't fathom this out. Why there is housing in Glasgow being demolished, perfectly good conditions, and like the boy in the chair a minute ago said,
to me a profit.
the fact is, Gorbals, are you right hand?
Tidy it up,
My
Eddie.
dad's 1907, just like your dad 1913, my mom's 1913. We're Gorbals through and through. We're Gorbals through and through.
We
The
don't
difference
want a
was
family
that the
history.
Secretary of State for Scotland in 1957
A question.
made a decision to rid Glasgow of its population and its housing, and we've lost 500,000 people in this city since a political decision was made back in 1957. And it goes on.
Eddie asked you for a
Eddie, it's a
question.
question, it's not a statement. Come on.
It's overpopulated. Why is this? Because 20,000 houses have
I've
been
got a
demolished.
question that could be answered.
That's the answer.
Too many people.
What's the lady here?
Right, can we move on to this lady here?
But we need to answer the question.
I've got a question.
I think the question relates to council houses.
Excuse me. What's your name? Pam. How it works? Eddie asked a question.
There's
The
no
candidate-
question. It's just
That wasn't a question, was it?
Well, the question is simple, straightforward. How many of these candidates, there's no council houses now, right? So how many of these candidates have actually stood up and fought to get houses built in Glasgow? Well, witness
Right, that's the question, that's the question.
Right.
that's the question.
Yeah, I take it you know him well.
Aye, very well.
Personally, I haven't, because I've only entered politics for this election. And for my party, the Liberal Democrats, we haven't had the opportunity either. We have one Liberal Democrat councillor on Glasgow City Council. And if there were more Liberal Democrats involved, then we could be making more of a decision. I can't speak now for what might happen in the future, but you can look at the past and you can clearly see that the two parties that, quite frankly, in this area you consistently vote for the Labour Party and the SNP, and they're letting you down wholesale. So I will, as I've said, I'm taking this back to my party because I'm actually genuinely horrified with what you're telling me.
So would any one of you want to come and stay in my house for one full month and see what we have to deal with?
Elaine, you need to answer the question. You need to answer Eddie's question. It's Eddie's turn.
Okay, I think the question was a bit.
You're just
It ended with, but it's basically started with, well, why are there no council houses? And the reason for that was because the way that the Tories set the legislation up, so that with the sale of council houses meant that councils were sold at less than the debt, and therefore there was a huge debt, which then the Labour government was able to get around to give back debt so that housing investment could carry on by it being moved into the GHA. I don't know the answer to how many houses have been demolished. I do know that the houses that are being demolished are the ones that people don't want to live in. I know in my area, for instance, high flats.
This woman here worked in council housing for 28 years. Tell her that.
Well, you get the areas where they knock houses down are the ones where there's persistent long-term vacancies because people don't want to live in them, like high flats and so on. And where the structure is getting to the stage, a lot of the 60s housing is actually not fixable, or it will cost multi-millions to fix it. In terms of standing up for getting new housing put in, new housing built, absolutely I have been involved for most of my life in housing campaigns around condensation, so-called, which was structural dampness that people were referring to, fighting with local residents groups to get something done about that, against the and yes, in terms of housing investment, Glasgow City Council under Labour has put in a lot of money into housing investment. We need more of that, and that is why the Labour government, if we get back into power, we will be building 60,000 more affordable houses, 45,000 of which will be social rented.
Eddie's asked about council housing. I want to suggest to you that it's a time-served tactic in politics. That what you do is you try and make a situation worse, and then you bring along a solution, and you say this solution will be better than the situation you've got now. And that's what the Tories, Labour, Liberals all did in 2000-2001 when they tried to con the people of Glasgow to vote for the stock transfer of all of the council housing out of the control of the council and give it to the housing associations that lacked accountability. You asked the question, Eddie, who fought against it? I fought against it. I fought against it because it was wrong. Because what it means is, we now have, when it comes to housing problems that have been raised here, we have people saying, who's responsible? Oh, wait a minute, is it that social association? Is that a house association? It used to be the council. Now the council doesn't run any houses. As far as I'm concerned, let's return the housing stock to council control, and then we know who's responsible for the housing.
To answer Eddie's question, the same as Carol, I'm new to politics. I hate what I see happening in this country, and I want to do something to change it. That's why I'm here. I've not stood up for building more council housing. I would stand up for more council housing. We need affordable housing in this country. To answer Farrier's point about the sale of council housing though, the right to buy on council houses has done more for social mobility in Scotland than any policy that Labour or the SNP have ever brought in.
It's left us with
That's one
houses.
problem, but we do need more houses. I completely agree.
So where's the building programme?
It doesn't matter.
I'm not in government.
Well,
I want the opportunity.
The right to buy was a promise. The money would be used to build more houses by the Tories. Where's the new houses?
I'm not in this area. That's
no.
Buy your home. We'll use the money. Build more for your children.
The houses, the money was going to be used for new houses. Where are they?
I didn't say that.
Oh, that's what the government said.
But you know, see, then this isn't about the government. Sorry. Right, well, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
Sorry, so in answer to your question, Eddie, yes, I think we do need more council housing. I think we need good quality housing, and I don't think housing which has an acceptable living standard should be getting demolished.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The next question from Pam, please.
I live right next to Govanhill Nursery School, and my close is horrendous. Rats, cockroaches, bed bugs.
It's ridiculous, man.
I look out my back window. I'm a responsible householder. I have got City Council on speed dial on my phone. I'm so much frequent contact with them. I've contacted Environmental Health to tell them that as I'm looking out my window, I'm watching a pack of rats playing hopscotch on my paving stones. There is a wall, a 6-foot wall. That's the only thing that divides the nursery playground and my back court. And as I look out my window, I've got nursery children playing completely innocently, and I've got rats.
Welcome
And-
to Govanhill.
Yes, and they came out, they visited. The environmental health officer informed me that my back court was not an issue. I've got an open sewer at the minute. Oh. Who do I go to? Because everybody that I phone, Govanhill Housing, Pest Control, Environmental Health, I've been on the phone to everyone asking to come out, it's not an issue. I've got nappies getting flung out my back windows. But yet, miraculously, it took from October. There were 7 double bed mattresses out my back court from October, and it took until February of the following year until it got lifted. And that was me continually phoning every week to say that it hadn't been lifted. It's a joke. That's the basics. I don't want to know all your past histories. I want to know the basics. How do I deal with the situation that I am living in?
They need to answer her question. They'll need to answer her question. That's it. Put my hand up, get the next one. I'm going to
Order, please, order. Allow the candidate to answer the question.
There's really not very much I can say because that is totally unacceptable.
But you said it's a great area to live in.
No, I'm saying it's way better.
It's only one mother or one child to see a rat. It hits the papers. I'm trying to inform the people, the council. I'm trying to let them know what. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is happening. There are 3 and 4-year-old children playing.
That's what it's totally unacceptable. What you're describing is completely unacceptable. I'm not going to try and say that any acceptability there because there isn't. You're doing the right thing, you're informing environmental health.
But she's knows these problems have been going on for years.
I know that's what I'm saying, but she's doing the right thing, she's informing. I don't know why action isn't being taken.
It's like writing a diary. It's a diary, dates, times, incidents.
Can you just let me answer?
But you're not answering right. You're not answering her question.
What I'm saying is there is no... What I'm saying is she's doing the right thing. It's unacceptable. The only thing I can suggest that you do, if you haven't already done that, is raise that...
Fucking need to get one then. No, that rails me up. They sit there. They sit in their big fucking fancy houses.
I've got it in writing that years ago we don't have efficient or sufficient bins. The rats, it's an old picnic garden.
At the end, I will certainly raise it with your local councillors and try and get something done right. That's obviously not acceptable. In the area that I represent, we have issues like that. Not as bad as you're describing, but certainly rats all over the place and so on.
But yet yesterday,
It's not the answer to give that.
Well, I mean, as a councillor, I'm dealing with this all the time, but I do get it dealt with. So it's not acceptable.
Oh, you asked
like that.
what the directive,
Puts a huge amount of time into
what the attempt to do with that.
and as a result of that, we've had a lot of
You've got ball bags.
take responsibility.
Pam, the answer you got is similar to the answer I'm going to give you, and that is your first port of call has to be the local council. You say you've raised it with a local councillor. If the local councillor isn't able to get the changes and isn't able to get environmental health to respond, quite frankly, you should be going to the papers and you should be involved in the papers. You were saying there you're worried about that. I think sometimes, I hate the newspapers, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you can use the newspapers to put pressure on the council. One of the problems is some people have said they don't want to hear history lessons here. I do want to say to you,
ladies and gentlemen, could you please respect the candidate and allow him to answer the question? Thank you.
I do want to say to you, you mentioned the point about mattresses, and it reminds me of a case we had in the Pollock area where a family of 3 kids, a lone parent was living in a house that was damp-ridden, absolutely damp-ridden, horrible, up and down the walls, all our clays were wet and horrible, stinking. And the council wouldn't move her. They kept saying it was condensation, you know the usual, if you're using a paraffin fire and all that bullshit. So from the point of view of trying to get that woman her change of housing, what we did is we got a hot air mattress because it was all black with the dampness. And we took it down to the housing office in Brockburn Road and we put it right in the middle of the housing office. And we occupied the housing office and that woman got moved that day. Now, I'll tell you the difference. See if you did that, the council would say, I'm sorry, we've no houses. Because in the days, the council ran the houses. Now, it's all that housing association, it's a wee local one here, a wee local one there. So that's why I say to you, we need to start coordinating things again. Environmental health, they're all broke up now. They set up these companies called arm's length companies. It means nobody knows what the other person's doing. It used to be you could pick up the phone to a councillor and the councillor could pick up the phone to one department and get something done. Now it's all need to pass that to the arm's length company, the arm's length company, the other arm's length company. It's a joke. We need to re-coordinate services, bring them back into the council so that councillors can actually get things done.
Pam, you've said you're a responsible householder. Everybody here is a responsible householder. You're out here trying to make a difference. You've spoken about not knowing where to go to get your issues resolved. You've already had 2 answers saying that you're going to the right place, and it's a disgrace that these issues aren't being solved. I don't know why that's not happening, but what I can promise is that if you vote for me, I will be here and I will do everything that I can to address these issues that you're facing.
Thank you. The next question, person had his hand up, Mr. Cardwell, I believe.
Hi there.
Oh, sorry, David, I need you, sorry. Sorry, my mistake. Would you like to?
Well, I don't have a huge amount to add except this. As I say, before I came here I researched all this and the law is on your side. So I would say that not only should you go to the press, if I were in your situation I would go to the press, I would also go to that nursery school next door and tell them. Because if they knew how bad it was just over the wall, they would certainly do something about it. And the third thing I would be trying to do is look at legal advice, because the council is not allowed to do what you're saying, to ignore the problems that you're describing. And whether your landlord, but if your landlord, it doesn't matter whether your landlord is a private person or one of the housing associations, they are legally responsible for the environment in which you live, and really you should, or as an organisation, be looking to going to the law, because they have to be held to account, and if your councillors won't do it, you have to take recourse to the law. That's the only other thing I could... No, but in a group, in this group here, can take recourse to the law. The legislation actually says they're not allowed to do that and they're open to criminal prosecution, but nobody is pursuing them. Your council, no, your council can do it, and it's already been agreed that since this year the council can do it on your behalf. But somebody, yes, that is the law, and somebody ought to be pursuing it on your behalf.
Yeah, well, I've just found out I don't even come under the enhanced enforcement area in my address. My address isn't even under that.
Enhanced enforcement. Enhanced area to have this people.
Thank you, Pam.
Sorry, David.
Next question from Mr. Cardwell, please.
Hi there. My name's David Cardwell, and I'm a member of the community down here, and I used to live here. I'm going to frame my question. It's directed towards the Community Safety Glasgow enforcement officers that have flooded Govanhill the past few years in undercover and in uniform. And just to give you a few facts, last year in Govanhill, just alone, they gave out 42 fines a week. Last year, Glasgow City Council never gave out one fly tipping fine. I would like to know, and you can reply with a yes or no, and I can pass it over to other people to ask her a question. Can you tell me, do you think enforcement officers have made Govanhill a safer and cleaner place?
No.
And can I just add that Faria Thomas is the chairperson of Community Safety Glasgow, and she's probably the most knowledgeable person in this back court about the charity body that's owned by Police Scotland and Glasgow City Council. You can answer a yes or a no to the question.
No. I mean, I'm happy to start, but
let's go.
I don't need it, David, and I can't answer you yes or no. My answer is to be I don't know, because I don't know the figures, brother, so I apologise.
I told you them. I told you them.
You asked me, the answer was, is it a safer or not? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I can't answer that.
It's clearly not safer. Like Tommy, I don't know anything about the figures are and what you've told me there, David, but it's clear. Look round about you, look at the issues that people here are raising. It's clear that it's not made a difference.
Yeah, and I would agree. It's obvious just from what people are saying here that they don't think it has made Govanhill a safer place. That's not the feeling that we're getting from the audience here today.
Well, I would disagree. I think if we were, well, I know you'd say that. Well, of course I would. But I mean, if you actually look at, as people have said, there has been enforcement action against people for littering. We are looking at changing the way that we're actually running some of the services to try and make them more effective. But if people in the area, I mean, basically, we have lots of feedback from people in the area saying that seeing officers around, seeing additional police that you've got in the area, and seeing the enforcement officers around.
I'm talking about enforcement officers.
People feel safe.
Are you telling me Govanhill is a cleaner place due to enforcement officers in the area, undercover,
You were
in
asking
uniform?
about safe. I think it is a safer place. I definitely think it's a safer place. Well, if we removed all the services, I'd find there's more concerns. Anyway, if you ask me the question, I think it is a safer place. I think there are a lot of problems with cleansing, not with cleansing, but with people fly tipping and so on.
How many fly tipping fines have your enforcement officers reported?
That's environmental health.
Oh, they don't deal with that. They don't deal with fly tipping.
The issue is catching them. And that's where
you've caught 42 litter fines a week, and you've never caught a fly tipping fine in a year.
They're called fly tippers because they are dead fly. But since the cameras got put in, they've actually got evidence. Just since the new cameras on Calder Street,
evidence means nothing.
They have evidence which should help to lead to prosecution and fining of a number of additional people just since they've got in.
How much money did that cost? For the taxpayers' money?
Can I tell you, I've got a fly tipping fine.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Can I explain to you what it's for?
It's 20 past 2.
No.
The meeting is scheduled to end in 10 minutes.
Well, I want that question.
Would you rather have one more question that each of the candidates can answer, or would you have the candidates do a final sum up?
A question for Marion.
Chair, I've had my hand up for a long time, and it's a very simple point that I want to make. My name's Marion Nisbet, and I live in Govanhill, and I'm an unemployed disabled worker. And I would like to address the question to all of you, but in particular, the cuts, the ideological and financial assault on disabled people in this country that has been going on, so much so that Ian Duncan Smith had to resign last night, because even the Tory party are starting to say yous have crossed the line. 93 people a week are dying in this country waiting on their benefits being reinstated. So we're getting hammered for Westminster. We're also getting hammered for Glasgow City Council, who are cutting essential services to learning disability, addiction, homelessness, cleansing and housing and everything else. And I am sick of going to community council meetings and public meetings and people standing talking about extra resources that are getting put into this area, because we're no daft. You're getting it with one hand and you're taking it away with the other. So I want you all to discuss the cuts. An hour and nearly a half we've been in this back court and no one has mentioned cuts. 133 million.
What are the resources? That was the question.
So, thanks for your question, Marion. I'll start off by saying that like Ian Duncan Smith, I don't necessarily agree with everything that my party does. There's not a single candidate here who could stand up and say that their party's never made a mistake, who's never done something that we regret now, or something that we wouldn't change if we had the opportunity. I think it is a disgrace. I don't think that benefits for disabled people should be cut. If I was elected as part of a Tory group at Holyrood, I would oppose any such cuts. And as I say,
the local services, the cleansing that's being cut, the housing, and all the things that people want to talk about here today.
I'm here to tell you what I'd do if you vote for me.
It's all about politics. SNP, blah, 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 blah. It's not about you, it's about Govanhill as a congregation as people that stay in Govanhill.
Yeah, and answer that point, I'm sorry I've been taking off your question, Marion.
You're sitting there fucking good as usual. No,
I'm not
talking
doing
about him next to you.
So all I can say in answer to that question, yeah, I completely appreciate where you're coming from. I do.
Well, what one of these are willing to come stay in my house for a month? I'll move out. What one of these? You at the end.
All right, I'll come.
If I can just address that point. Yes, we are talking about politics because we are politicians and people who are trying to become politicians. We are wanting the chance to represent you. But politicians are the people who have the power to change things. If the politicians who are representing you just now aren't doing that, then in May, vote for somebody else.
We'll do that anyway.
I don't think you're going to find anyone in this panel who actually approves of the cuts in the disability payments. None of us approve of that. We're all against that. And it's a real relief actually that Ian Duncan Smith has resigned, because it looks like it's going to have an effect and it's not going to be so severe. But you have to bear in mind that the council has had its money taken away from it by the Scottish Government.
So the disabled people have to pay for that then?
No, but what I'm saying is the council requires more money to booster these services that you're talking about, and their money has been cut. And one of the reasons that they're so short of money was the 9-year freeze in council tax. Now, I'm prepared to admit I've benefited from that. I pay council tax and it's been frozen for 9 years. And I probably benefited from that, and I know